Australia is in trouble. Now, we have our elections coming up, and we had recent polling that suggests that it is very close. In fact, Liberals have a very slight edge. Now, America elected Trump, and people are seeing what's happening. Like, whatever's happening in America, it is a shitfest. And unfortunately, Peter Dutton, who is the head of the Liberals, he's rehashing Trump's policies in Australia. He's bringing all the cultural wars, all the cultural issues from Trump and bringing them to Australia in hopes to win. And it seems like it's working. Like he's even been labeled Timu Trump because he wants to be Trump. He's a Trump tryhard. And then you have Labor facing the biggest cost of living crisis Australia's ever had and falling very, very flat. Now, what you see happening in Australia is unfortunately what's happened in America when it comes to blaming the voters. Now, what I've seen on online forums, online on social media, is a lot of people blaming the voters, blaming the people for deciding to move away from the Labour Party. And I want to discuss this. I want to talk about why this is important. This is urgent. Labour had a very big opportunity when they came into power. And I'm not going to say that they didn't do anything. They did do a lot of good, but I want to be upfront on my bias, my own political bias. I am left wing. You could call me socialist. And the party that reflects what I believe in the most are Australian Greens. Now, the Greens aren't perfect, but they are the closest to my set of beliefs. And that is who I advocate voting for. And fortunately, in Australia, we have a preferential voting system where you could still vote for the Greens and still have your vote not be wasted and still go towards Labor. It seems like we are heading towards a minority government, which means that whichever of the two parties wins, they need to work with the Greens and the Independents to pass legislation. But I want to bring it back to Labor and I want to talk about why they are in the position that they are in and why there needs to be change straight up. There needs to be a massive shift in how they are promoting their ideas and what they're giving the voters to vote for in the coming election. You had things like cost of living crisis, you had things like the housing crisis, and you had things like immigration and infrastructure. And even though things like the cost of living crisis is a global issue that's affecting every country right now, people expect something from the government. And when they don't get anything, they start to feel, disenfranchised by these political parties. Labour's biggest problem is their fear for big structural change. Now, you could say that's because of their corporate donors. They don't want to, do anything too big to piss off their corporate donors. Or you could say that they're afraid of how the media is going to spin it. And I'm here to say that's bullshit. I've heard that time and time again that the reason why Labour is doing so bad in the polls is because of Murdoch media. And don't get me wrong, Murdoch media plays a big part in you know in everything because they own a media monopoly in Australia and in America. But they use it as an excuse to not get anything done. There are things that the government could have done and could still promise that could literally sway the elections their way. And these are issues that can be tackled with government policies. Yet the Labour Party refuses to do that and uses the media, uses the fact that if they do anything structurally big, if they do big, bold ideas, that the media would come crashing down on them. Who cares? Who fucking cares? If you announce tomorrow that you're going to put dental care and mental health care into Medicare and fully fund Medicare again and make universal health care free like it should be, Medicare should be free. Like, who cares what the media says? You can't spin that. They've literally gone from introducing big, bold ideas to now becoming a party of neoliberalism, which is what the Democrats have become. And the more and more that I see them blaming the voters for shifting right, shifting towards the liberals, it's playing into their narrative that these elites are just looking down upon them, that they don't care about them. And a lot of young people voted for Labour to bring in strong climate change policies. But what's happened is they opened up more coal plants. They've literally done the opposite of what people voted them in for. So I think going into this year's election, it's really important to focus on policy. No one cares about, you know, Peter Dunn. No one cares about the Liberals. You can't keep blaming the other party. That's exactly what the Democrats did. The Democrats kept saying Trump bad, Trump bad. Blaming the opposition isn't a policy. It's not going to make people vote for you. You need policies that actually affects them. You need policies that actually helps them for people to come to you. You can't blame the voters, and you can't keep using Peter Dutton bad as a policy. Last but not least, one of the biggest issues for me that has turned me away from, I mean, I was never a Labour voter in the first place, but that have turned a lot of people away from the Labour Party is Israel Palestine. The fact that they've literally continued to keep saying Israel has a right to defend itself as they were carpet bombing Palestine, as they were literally killing women, children, men, tens of thousands. I don't know what the number is now, but that blood is on Penny Wong. That blood is on Labour's hands. And the fact that they haven't done anything should be enough. Australia is complicit in the war. Australia is complicit. Their blood is on our hands. Every single one of us, because our taxpayers' money has gone to fund the war. And I think this is going to be the biggest issue. If not the cost of living crisis, it's going to be Israel Palestine. All these protests, so many protests against the government, against Albanese, but yet nothing, crickets from the government. But as soon as, two nurses say something anti Semitic, which is wrong, which is bad. And I think whatever's happened to them, they deserved. But where is this outrage when Muslim women are attacked in shopping malls? Where is this outrage when, like buses are set on fire? There was a bus set on fire like just a month and a half ago, literally like next suburb from me. An Islamic school bus was set on fire. Whenever Islamic attacks happen, whenever like Islamic hate, Islamophobia happens, the government doesn't come out and give speeches. No one gives a shit. The double standards is insane. Islamophobia is normalized, but anti Semitism isn't. And it's clear where Anthony Albanese stands on these issues. But here's my bottom line: Australia is not like America in the sense that we have a preferential voting system, which means that we don't have to vote for the duopoly. We don't have to vote for Labour or Liberals. We can vote for the Greens and we can vote for independents who actually align with us. So the issues that I care about is Medicare, is public housing, is public education, and Palestine, Israel Palestine. That is my biggest issues. And the party that closely aligns with me is the Greens. So if you're Australian, if you're in Australia, do your research, and you remember you don't have to vote for the big parties. Vote for independents. Vote for Greens. I think this is a wake up call. This is a massive wake up call for us because we don't want to vote for an Australian Trump. We deserve better.